All right, everybody. We all know what's going on whenever they show any kind of article with the National Guard suddenly appearing. So, whenever the National Guard is showing up, we know they're about to let somebody walk. We know the patterns of what these folks do. And that judge has been nothing but biased through the whole thing. I'm surprised he has not come out and say, "I'm not going to let this young boy go to jail." You know, I mean, he's done everything short of that. But you know what? We need to see that. We already know the entire system is biased. We already know this. And we already know everything is rigged up. And this trial is definitely showing us how badly rigged the system is. It is what we say it has been all this time. We haven't been wrong yet. Oh, yeah, they picked that judge for the very reason that we see his conduct. Trust me, this is not the only case that he is showing a lot of bias. He's probably done this through the majority of his cases that he has. And I'm just wondering how many black defendants were in front of this same Klansman judge and they had the book thrown at them for a lot less than what Kyle Rittenhouse is in front of him over. You know, it certainly would be worth looking at. So, an article came out yesterday and it was saying that 500 National Guard troops have been activated in Wisconsin ahead of the verdict. And the verdict is coming this week. I believe it may even be Monday, but it's definitely this week. So it's coming. And for them to activate the National Guard, it's got to be coming real soon. Thank you, Spencer W., for the super chat. I'm sure the mother persuaded him in her own special way. Yeah, well, if you go back and look at that video where Kyle Rittenhouse was crying, well, attempting to cry, they panned the camera right in his face. Then they panned it over to his mother. Then they panned it back to him. Then they panned the camera back over to. I was like, okay, what are y'all trying to pull here? Okay. I never even seen them do that when black people are crying in court. In fact, they try not to show it at all. Thank you, Loveline, for the super sticker. I mean, let's be real. When black folks are crying in court, they don't pan no cameras. In fact, they don't want anybody to see you crying because they don't want you to have any kind of empathy. But they panned that camera a lot between him and his mother, and I knew exactly what they were doing. They're trying to get empathy. And if that don't work, then they got a judge in place that will take care of anything else and getting that trial off of him so he can be free. That's why that judge was picked to sit in that case. Trust me, they been knew what he was like. Okay. Let me just share my screen and we'll get into this whole thing. Okay, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you for the super chat, Loveline. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ocean Soul and Pink Meadows, for those ones. All right. Let's get started here. All right. So this article came out November 13th, 2021. So we know Kyle Rittenhouse is on trial for homicide and one attempted homicide. And this was a 2020 protest he showed up at in Kenosha, and it was a BLM protest. And to be honest with you, I believe the reason why he went was to go and shoot some black people. But that night did not turn out the way he expected. And he ended up killing white people. But I want y'all always to take notice whenever these white guys, it's primarily them, show up with weapons, it's always regarding a black death. They never show up on any other protests with weapons. It is only for black people, and they think they can lie and hide behind protecting property as if we can't see through what they're doing. They only show up with weapons when it is a protest regarding a black death in a police shooting or some type of protest where we are protesting, and in this case, a paralyzed black man. So that was his intent, I believe, when he showed up. That night just didn't turn out the way he thought it would. But they don't show up with weapons for any other reason. And when they say they're protecting businesses, if that's the case, how come y'all didn't jump up with your weapons and run up to the Capitol and protect the Capitol building from looters and everything else that took place up there? I noticed you weren't running up there to defend the place. That's how we know you're full of crap. All right. The Wisconsin governor on Friday called 500 National Guard troops to Kenosha ahead of the highly anticipated verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers announced Friday that approximately 500 National Guard troops had been activated alongside hundreds of law enforcement officers to ensure public safety as the nation awaits a decision in the Rittenhouse trial. Rittenhouse, a teenager from Antioch, Illinois, has been on trial for homicide and attempted homicide for the fatal shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I go any further, now you notice he was underage at the time, he was 17, and he crossed state lines. All right. Now, usually when you are a minor and you break the law, your parents are accountable for what you do, right? You notice they're not bringing his mother up in this whole thing. That's how you know this trial is rigged. It's based on what they won't bring up. From the start, his mother has been untouchable through this whole thing. And where's the father? Isn't that what they always say when it comes down to black folks? Where's Kyle's father? Where's the father? All right. So we know he was underage with a weapon, and he had an assault style weapon when he showed up at the protest in Kenosha. And the protest was based on Jacob Blake, a black man that was shot in the back multiple times, but that cop was intending on killing him. With the amount of times that he shot him in the back, he did not think he was going to live. He was trying to take his life. But we know that cop will not get in trouble. They already said he won't be in trouble for that. Rittenhouse has claimed self defense and three shootings, while prosecutors argue that the violence ensued because the then 17-year-old chose to go to Kenosha. That's right, traveled there from Illinois into Wisconsin amid the protest and walked the streets with a rifle, which he was not entitled to have at his age. And it was not his rifle. Remember, one of his friends got arrested for giving him that rifle, the AR 15 he had? The now 18-year-old is facing 7 charges: first degree reckless homicide, attempted homicide, and possession of a dangerous weapon as a minor. The defense for Rittenhouse rested its case on Friday. Closing arguments in the trial are expected Monday, after which 12 of the 18 jurors who heard the case will be randomly selected to deliberate. Now, it is a mostly white jury. I just heard of one, as they put it, person of color in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. So they stacked the jury up in his favor, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they have done. If convicted of the most serious charge against him, Rittenhouse could face a mandatory sentence of life in prison. And you know, they're not going to let that little white supremacist go to jail. We already know that. We continue to be in close contact with our partners at the local level to ensure the state provides support and resources to help keep Kenosha community and the greater area safe, said Wisconsin Governor Evers. The Kenosha community has been strong, resilient, and has come together, though incredibly difficult times these past 2 years, and that healing is still ongoing. I urge folks who are otherwise not from the area to please respect the community by reconsidering any plans to travel there, and ensure those who might choose to assemble and exercise their First Amendment rights to do so safely and peacefully. Now, Kyle said he was going there to protect property, which is just code word is I'm going to oversee them in words. Really, that's what they're really saying. Remember, we were considered property all this time, really. That's why they treat us the way that we're treated. We're considered property. And then what do they say to justify being on the streets with weapons? They're protecting their property. They're not fooling no damn body with that crap. Evers said the troops will be stationed nearby in standby mode and will be deployed if necessary. Troops will not be allowed to impede peaceful protests, the governor said. Governor Evers also activated 500 National Guard in January of the year ahead of a decision to charge or not the police officers involved in the Blake shootings. And we know there were no charges, and there really should have been. You know, Blake was just trying to get in his vehicle. He was of no threat to that police officer, but I guess just being black makes you an automatic threat. Okay, so that's where it stands. And ladies and gentlemen, we know what these folks' patterns are, and when we know when they are trying to cover up everything and they don't want to do anything to this defendant. It's very obvious. It's very obvious. Just like it was real obvious through the Trayvon Martin trial. Thank you, Mr. Punch Out, for the super sticker. During the Trayvon Martin trial, it was very, very obvious that the prosecution was not trying very hard to go after George Zimmerman. And we were all buzzing about that too. It was like, what the hell is the prosecution doing? And prosecutions in this country will deliberately throw a case, especially when they're trying to get somebody off. And I really believe that's happening in this case as well. You know, they're going through this trial because they know they have to do this legally. But what they don't have to do is follow their own laws and put this dude in jail, because they are the ones, like I told y'all, all of these laws were written by criminals. Okay. The laws in America were written by people that are criminals. And as far as I'm concerned, your politicians are criminals too. But that is why, and that's just, my observation. That was a Black Lives Matter march. I think when Kyle went out there, he was looking for black people. I really do. But everything just kind of turned in a different way after he got there. And all of the ones that he did shoot were white, you know, and sometimes that's what happens. We may be their intended target, but we're not the ones that get killed. Didn't we see that in that movie theater shooting where that guy was the Joker? Y'all remember what I'm talking about? There were a lot of black people in that theater. But when he started shooting, everybody that was killed were white. He was in a dark theater, but only hit white people. Okay. So that is what will happen. Yeah, yes, I do believe the Most High had his hand in that to make sure nobody that looked like us would get killed, and nobody that looked like us got killed by Kyle Rittenhouse. He did his own people in out on those streets. So I don't think there's no need to be surprised if he walks. This is the kind of system they have set up in America. It really is. Cameron Charles, thank you so much for the super chat. You said, here's a tweet from Candace Owens. This girl has really lost her mind and sold out. Okay. No, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, she sure has sold out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, come on. He knew who that protest was for. Now, think about this. He was in a whole different state. Why is he concerning himself about a protest in Wisconsin, not even around him, that he had to drive to even get there? Okay. He was concerning himself with it because in his mind, he thought he was going to see a street full of black people. That's why. If you only see them popping out with weapons when black people show up on the scene, that's the real reason why they are there. It's not for no damn property, but they think they can hide behind that reason. When they say they came on the streets for property, right then and there that is nothing but a hardcore racist that is really looking to shoot someone black, just looking for any excuse to do it. And like I said, if you would have showed up at the Capitol and said, I'm protecting the Capitol, I'm protecting the property up at the Capitol, then I would somewhat believe that's what you're doing. But I notice when white people are protesting, you ain't up there to protect nothing. That's how we know you're full of crap. And then look, when Kyle Rittenhouse got on out on bail, what did he do? He was out drinking with white supremacists. So, like, come on. He was up there looking for black folks. And his mother knew that was the case too. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I wanted to go over. The article, and the inevitable is what we thought. Many of you were saying it even before the trial started. They were going to let him walk. And I saw your comments. Many of you were saying it. And we know how this corrupt system works. We know this by now. Daniel Ruck, thank you so much for the super chat. Revolving door of wannabe white supremacy. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay. So, yeah, so when they have more protests in Washington, D.C., let's see how many of them will pop up to protect some property. I promise you, there'll be none. There'll be none. Zero. Shoot, and don't tell me these folks don't tear places up. They'll tear a city up and their team won the game. Okay, they'll turn cars over and be out on the street breaking windows and everything else, and their team won. So go figure. So everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day. We'll definitely come together and do this again real soon. Everybody, love you. Peace, family.